First live show of the year, friends. This is the first one of the year. Are you so excited? I'm super excited. This is one of my favorite things to do. I'm gonna give some people
Favorite things to do.
Whoa. I'm gonna give people some time to get in here real quick. Um, while we're doing that, in case you guys don't know, today we are going to be going over digital marketing metrics, what they are, where to find them, what platforms have what metrics, all that good and fun stuff. That's kind of going to be the theme of this month. Breck, thanks for joining. That's kind of going to be the theme of this month, though, is metrics and what to measure, how to measure, why we measure, all of that fun stuff. So if you guys have any questions about any of that, go ahead and drop those in the comment. AMB78669, thanks for joining. Of course, my dog wants to go out now. Before I get too far into this, though, I do want to give a shout out to StreamYard. They've helped me power this show here for a while now, and it allows me to stream to multiple platforms. So I'm on Periscope and Facebook and Facebook, Periscope, and YouTube right now. I also have my phone set up right here, and I'm going live on TikTok. If you guys follow me on Twitter, you know I love my TikTok. So looks like we've got some people coming in. Insomnia Craft Shop, thanks for joining. Daydream Fisher, thanks for joining. Chinita, thanks for joining. Guys, go ahead, drop in the comments where you are tuning in from. I'm very excited to see that. So yeah, let's see. Anything I missed? Yeah, this year I am going to be doing the show again every Friday at 12:30 Central, but I am going to have the themes and whatnot, or the subjects, I guess, and whatnot published early on my Twitter channel. So if you go over to my Twitter profile, you will see the schedule for January. So without further ado, let's talk about digital marketing metrics. What are they, and why do they matter, right? So a metric is anything that comes out to be a number, okay? So clicks, that turns around and gives you a number. Stan, thanks for joining. Hashtag Mari, thanks for joining. Looks like we got somebody from LA in the comments. Super excited to have people here from all over the place, hopefully. So anything that gives you a number. So some of the big ones that we hear all the time are things like clicks and impressions, and even things like click-through rate, right? We still get a number. It's a percentage, but it's a number. So when do metrics come into play? I want you to think about, we're starting a new year, probably some new campaigns rolling out. What is the very first thing you determine when you're planning a campaign? Anything cool? Marissa, she's in here just killing it. Thank you, Marissa. Love you. Miss you. So the first thing you should be setting when you are thinking about starting a new campaign is a goal, right? Yes, goal number one. It popped up here in Periscope. This 100% of the time should be the very first thing you determine before you get too far into strategy work, before you're picking platforms, before you're doing anything else. You should have a goal, because it turns out you can't reach a goal if you don't have a goal to begin with, right? So, I taught digital marketing for the last year and a half, and this was always the story that I told, was that I had a client for a year and a half. They didn't realize that, this was back when I was at the agency. They didn't realize that we were running a specific type of campaign, and they weren't understanding why we were running these search ads. And we said, well, we're trying to get people to your website. And they asked, well, is it selling tickets? And I said, well, we don't really know. We don't really know that, because you don't sell the tickets on your website, right? There was no conversation that solidified what the goal of this strategy and these campaigns should be, right? So at the end of the day, even after 18 months, a ton of money, a ton of strategy planning, all sorts of stuff, we were never able to hit the goal because we never set the goal to begin with, or the objective. Yeah, looks like we got some other people jumping in here. Jason, thanks for joining. I think Candy, thanks for joining. Digital Blythe, thanks for joining. Jared, thanks for joining. So many people here. And Marissa's right. There is a difference between a marketing goal and a sales goal, but I would argue that those things, I mean, all of it should tie back to the goal of the business, right? And these departments need to be talking. Marketing and sales need to be talking. Yes, they should be two different departments, but they also need to be collaborating, okay? And so once we have our goal or objective, then we create our key performance indicators. And these KPIs, you'll hear it all the time. The KPIs are going to be what we use to measure whether or not we're hitting our goals, right? So if our goal is to increase sales, let's say we want to increase sales by 15% by the end of this quarter, right? Let's just say that's our goal. Then under that objective or goal, we have to have things that we are measuring to tell us if we're on the way, right? So they're kind of like, the KPIs are the numbers that we're actually tracking, and we use metrics there, right? That's where we pull our metrics. So let's take a look at, I'm going to share my screen here. I forgot to do that before you all jumped in here. I don't know what I was doing. Okay, here we go. We are sharing the screen. My friends on TikTok, you're not going to be able to see this. If you want to see my screen, you can go to my Twitter profile. You can go to my YouTube channel, both of which are on my link tree. So you can go ahead and do that if you're at all interested in seeing what I'm about to share. So what I'm sharing right now is the demo dashboard for Google Analytics. And honestly, a lot of people never make it past this screen. And that is okay. That's fine. But these are the metrics, though, that people are seeing right when they get into Google Analytics. So here are some of the basic metrics. Users. Cool. I'm headed to YouTube now. Awesome. We love to have our TikToks over on YouTube. So the very first thing you see here is users. And this is just the number of people, or maybe not people, but the number of devices and IP addresses, all of that kind of fun stuff. Essentially, hopefully, people, the number of people that have come to your website, right? So you can see that here it says that we had 12,000, this account had 12,000 users come to their website, right? And they also, and this is in the last 7 days, they also had $11,000 in revenue. We'll talk about that here in a minute. And a 1.22% conversion rate. So let's talk about these two real quick. Revenue is just the amount of money you've made selling products, but remember, it's not necessarily the money you've made, because that would be profit. Revenue is like the lump sum of money, right? So you sold 10 widgets at $10 a piece. You made $100. You've received $100, but obviously you need to take out cost of goods sold. You need to take out if you had any advertising that went towards that. You have to take out all of these different things to understand your profit, but this is revenue, how much money you made, okay? Your conversion rate. What percent of people, or what percent of sessions, I can't remember if this is sessions, I think it's sessions and not people, but what percent of sessions ended up in somebody making a purchase, right? So let's see. You might have 100 people. So in this instance, 100 people come to the website. There have been 100 sessions, okay, not people. 100 times your website has been hit. 1.22 of those ended up in some sort of sale, or whatever you set your conversion up to be. So it might be a sale, it might be somebody sent in a contact form, something like that, right? So this conversion rate can get a little bit tricky, because if you have multiple conversions set up, then it's taking into account all of the different conversions that you have in set up in your Google Analytics account. And then the sessions. So the sessions is how many times your website was hit. So that's different from the users, right? You see 12,000 users and 13,000 sessions. Oh no, I think my camera died. You guys not able to see me anymore on YouTube. Let's see. Not sure what happened there. But that just means some of the users came in multiple times. Yeah, it looks like that camera's not going to work. So let me change this here. Unmute. Didn't mean to do that. Right. Just need to change this camera. Okay. Sorry, this camera quality is now less clear probably, but yeah, we're on the fly. We're on the fly. So I'm here. Everybody's here. We're rolling. Okay, so these are all different metrics, okay, on Google Analytics. If you guys are with me on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, you can see this. These are different metrics, right? As we go further into Google Analytics, you'll start to see that there are tons and tons and tons of different metrics. So page views is a metric. Page value is a metric. Then we get into kind of dimensions, and dimensions are what you customize the metrics by, right? So let's say we want to know page views by page. So this is a dimension. The dimension is page, and we can see all of the different pages underneath it. Home, basket, store, Google, redesign, apparel, men's, right? These are all different pages and the metrics for the specific pages. Now, before we get too far into metrics, I do want to address something that comes up a lot, and rightfully so. So let's put out a question here. What are vanity metrics? So when you think of vanity metrics, what are some of those metrics that come to mind for you? What do you guys consider to be vanity metrics? It looks like we've got some other people joining in here on TikTok. We've got Odin Marketing House, LJ Stover, Miss Kiki Doodles, a whole bunch of people, Moon and Sparrow. Thank you everybody for joining in. What are some vanity metrics that you guys hear about a lot? I would like to see what it is that you guys consider to be a vanity metrics. If you've heard of a vanity metric. Mine Jiu-Jitsu. Ooh, okay. Mornita. I'm the worst at reading screen names. I really shouldn't do that. Okay, well, nobody has any idea of vanity metrics or what they are, apparently. So let's just talk about what vanity metrics are. So a vanity metric is something I always like to tell people, like, think of vain, okay, right? So if you think somebody is vain, okay, somebody just said over on Twitter, number of followers. Yeah, that's a vanity metric, right? Like I said, I try and tell people, think of vain. What numbers can people use in vain, right? So number of followers is a really good example. People can say, oh, well, I have 100,000 followers on Twitter. Somebody else on TikTok said likes. Likes is another one as well. These are numbers that can easily be inflated. Generally speaking, they're inflated and they don't really amount to much in the long run, right? So likes and numbers are really, really good examples of that. Sorry, my friend just showed up with dogs, so you're probably hearing barking. So followers, you can have 100,000 followers, but if none of those followers are actually in your audience, if they're not actually engaging with you, then that's not a metric that you should really be focusing on. Now, at the beginning of digital marketing, at the beginning of social media, we had only vanity metrics to go off of, right? Because those were the easy things to track. We knew how many followers we had. We knew how many clicks and shares and reactions we had. But we couldn't tie that necessarily back to revenue. But I think now that things have evolved a little bit, that we're starting to get a better idea of these truly impactful metrics. And again, those should be tied back to your goals and objectives. It came through, somebody else said shares. I think anything, my dog is freaking out, y'all. She's really excited to see my friend. They're freaking out. These all vanity metrics can be, used in a way that proves profit or proves return. But I think we just need to be careful when we're setting our objectives to go, okay, these are the things that are really going to tell us whether or not we're going to have success in this campaign. And just because we gained 100 followers on this campaign doesn't necessarily mean, one, that they're in our audience, or two, that they're helping us at the overall goal, which was to raise sales by 15%, right? So we need to be very aware of these vanity metrics. Now, when we were looking at, I did not mean to do that. I hit remove instead of share. Okay, here we go. Okay. When we're looking at some of these metrics, even, users, 1,200 or 12,000 users. Again, we talked about what even is a specific user. A user can be, and what are these users doing when they come to our website, right? You can't just, and this is with anything in digital marketing, you can't rely on one number, okay? Because if you say we want to increase traffic to the website by 4% by the end of next month, increasing traffic is fine, but we want engaged traffic. We want traffic that's going to make a difference for our business. So we can't just look at the one metric of users. We need to look at sessions. How many people are coming back and interacting with us more? I guess that could be a good one. But also, if I say we want an increase in traffic, let's look at behavior. We go to site content, all pages. We start to get more information and more metrics. Guys, this is something you really need to remember when we go into any analytics platform or any sort of analytics, is that the things that actually mean the most for your business are generally going to be hidden a step or two further into the analytics platform. Ryan, thanks for joining. Farhan Mufasa, thanks for joining. And Red D's, thanks for joining. Mary, thanks for joining. All right, so we said we want more traffic. Now, if we go into site content, all pages, we see actual traffic numbers that matter. Average time on page, that's much more useful of a traffic indicator than just the number of entrances or page views. And the reason I say that is because, well, this number right here, bounce rate. If so many people, let's say we got the 12,000 people to come to the website, if 80% of those people are bouncing, then that's not really a useful metric to say, yeah, we've hit our goal, because maybe we got more visitors, but is that actually helping us at all, right? So your metrics, again, always need to be tied back to that objective, and you can't rely on one number alone. I mean, that's the reality of it, because we could say, well, we want our bounce rate to go down, and that's great, but at the end of the day, is that helping us increase revenue? Whoa. All right. I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to wrap this up here in a second. But even if you say, maybe you want to increase revenue, you can't just look at revenue, because then, you need to be looking at cost of goods sold, advertising costs. Maybe you want to increase profit, but how many sales are you making, right? All these things go together. So these metrics are going to be super important. Somebody said, I have dogs too, happens all the time. Don't stop unless you have to. Yeah, let me tell you guys, these dogs are on one. Page views, that's a really good one as well, just like we were talking about. Because a page view is great, but if it doesn't if it's not an engaged page view, if it's not a page view that's going to ultimately help you get more business, not very helpful, right? And different platforms. So when we talk about metrics, it's important to understand too that different platforms have different metrics that they measure. And this has to do with the type of content on each platform. So for instance, on TikTok, you get metrics on how many views you get, how much time people are spending watching your videos. You get information on whether these people are following you or not following you, right? But that's not necessarily, you know, if those were the only metrics we got for Facebook, that'd be extremely disappointing, because on Facebook, people can, you know, with those posts, people can click through to your website, or people can click through to go to your page to get more information about you, right? So different platforms have different metrics. So right now, this is Google Analytics. If you've never used Google Analytics, all of this is just your website analytics. So, excuse me, all the metrics you're getting are specific to people interacting with your website. If we go to, let me go to LinkedIn here, you'll see that the metrics are a lot different. So obviously they can't pull information from my website. So let me get over here to, let me go to, oh man, let me go to my personal page, view profile. Actually, I know I can use this client. Got the OK from them. All right. So if we go into the analytics here, you'll see that we get a lot different information. Great topic. Most people don't know the power of analytics and using that to create or use it. Yeah, because it does have a lot of power. In case you guys don't follow me on Twitter, 2021, I'm going all in on analytics and strategy because it's totally underused, and the amount of people that are just missing out on the value and power of this is mind-boggling to me. So if you need any help with analytics or strategy this year, please, please, please reach out to me. I really want to educate people on this and help them make use of their analytics. I'm dropping in the comments a link to my Buy Me a Coffee page. There you can just buy me a coffee. I actually use that money for coffee. You can do that, and but there you can also sign up for coaching sessions for analytics. I can help you set up your analytics, make sure it's all working, or just go through your analytics with you and tell you, you know, what it means, right? So you can see on LinkedIn, this information is a lot different than what we're getting on my website, because the website doesn't necessarily know these things, and they don't find these things as important. It's not as easy for them to collect it, right? So when I'm on LinkedIn, I can see the number of visitors that have the job function of business development, right? I can see the number of people that have sales. Now, are these metrics super duper important? Probably not for everyone. But you know, if we know our target market and we say, hey, we really need to be reaching people that are the decision makers on this, and it's actually people that are in finance, then we would know, we probably need to change something. We can do the same thing with seniority. We can do the same thing with industry and company size, right? But again, this can very easily, if we're not matching it with other metrics, can very easily become a vanity metric, because it doesn't mean a lot by itself. You need other data backing it up. You know, visitor metrics, people coming to your page and visiting your page. That's what a visitor is somebody that comes to your page and views it. Now you can also see unique visitors. So this is the number of people, and whereas the page views are just number of hits you got to your page, right? So we can see unique page views or visitors are going up. If we go to updates, then we start to get information about the posts, right? Again, like I told you guys, if we look at this just on the surface level, some of this stuff, so the very first things that they show you are generally going to be vanity metrics. So you need to make sure that you're thinking it through, taking the extra step. So the very first thing they show you is impressions. Great. We got 213 impressions. You have to remember too, like an impression could be a quarter of the post showing up on your page. That doesn't necessarily mean or on your timeline, right? So a quarter of your post showed up on somebody's timeline. Does that mean that they actually saw it? Does it mean that they registered it? Does that mean that they saw your branding and they're going to tie that post back to you? We don't really know that, right? So then we see clicks. Okay, well, we can assume if somebody clicked on it that they actually saw it. So that's a step further. But did they accidentally skip on it? Most people are on LinkedIn on their phone. Okay, maybe not most people, but a lot of people are on LinkedIn on their phone. What if they accidentally clicked it while they were trying to scroll? Does that click actually mean something? We see the click-through rate as well. We see reactions, comments, and shares. That's great. But honestly, what I would do is I would take all this LinkedIn data and compare it to the data on Google Analytics and see how does that transfer to site visits and ultimately conversions and revenue, right? So it sounds like key metrics should be adjusted to each marketing objective. I got that comment over on TikTok, and you are absolutely right. Your metrics need to be adjusted for each objective that you have. You will have different key performance indicators for every single objective that you set. So we can see here on LinkedIn that these are the kind of analytics that we get. Now, if I go to YouTube, a very video-focused platform, and let me sign into my account because I know that I'm not signed into my account on this one. So if I go to my account and I go to YouTube Studio here, and if you've never done this and you have a YouTube channel, go do it. You can get some really interesting information here. My Ginger Snap's in here. Thanks for joining, London. Okay, so if I go to analytics, I start to get a lot of information. Don't freak out because YouTube gives you buku amounts of information, just like Google does. They're owned by the same people, and they collect a lot of information. So we see, right away, number of views. Okay, let's go a step deeper here. Watch time. We go through a step deeper and we can see subscribes. We can see people subscribing and unsubscribing. And then we can see our videos and how each of the videos are performing. And again, remember, this is a lot different than what we see on LinkedIn. And you'll see a lot more information. Even though you can post videos on LinkedIn, you'll see that on YouTube, the analytics for video are much more advanced. And that's because YouTube is specifically focused on video. So they're going to have a lot more advanced analytics on them. So for instance, what I really like to see and what I really like to look at right here is this retention. So I can see when people are dropping. Looks like about 33% of people dropped off at 2 minutes and between 20 and 40 seconds. And that tells me, okay, go back and watch it. What did you do in the first 2 minutes that kept people engaged? And what did you do at between 2 and 3 minutes that made people leave? And then you can see too, on average, about 5% of people just watched the majority of it. And for me, that I'm okay with that. Somebody asked, do you use Microsoft Clarity? I do not. I honestly, let me see. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. I honestly focus on, I use a lot of just free tools. And so Google Analytics obviously is free and is the most used, and so I can get the most amount of information the easiest for Google Analytics. Really, that's my only argument as to why I don't use it. But I will be getting into a lot of these things more this year, as I said, going all in on analytics. So you can see how across the board, different platforms have different metrics that they're going to give you. And for each of those strategies, just like my friend over on TikTok said, for each of those strategies, you're going to want to have different metrics for those strategies that you're measuring and showing the comparison and the growth towards your objectives, right? So the first thing we do before we start a campaign or any sort of strategizing is go, okay, what is our goal? What are we trying to achieve? And then we say, okay, how can we achieve that? What can we measure? And what are the, what do they call that in marketing? The, oh my God. Or whatever. What are the related metrics that we need to measure together to get a true understanding of whether or not we are on our way to meeting the objectives that we've set for ourselves, right? Girl Without Cancer, thanks so much for the present over there on TikTok. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you guys. So like I said, then once you have those objectives and you set those metrics, throughout the rest of this month, I'm going to be talking about metrics for specific goals. So metrics for share of voice, which is just how essentially it can be how your branding is doing in comparison, or how you're doing in general in comparison to your competitors. We'll be doing that, I believe. Let me pull up my Twitter account here. So if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, please make sure you go follow me on Twitter. That's where I hang out the most. And that's where I share just a bunch of knowledge. So today we talked about metrics. Oh, next week we're talking about keyword tracking. What metrics come along with that? What should you be tracking? And what's, a good or bad, I say that in quotations mark, right? What's good or bad when tracking that. And then after that, we'll be doing share of voice. And then after that, we'll be talking all about different types of video metrics. So if you guys have any specific questions before I jet, go ahead and drop those in the comments so we can get those answered. Remember, if you want some one-on-one time with me or you need help with your analytics, go to my Buy Me a Coffee page. You can sign up for coaching there. You can sign up to get your analytics set up. Or if you have something more in depth that you're really wanting to do for 2021, then go ahead and go to my website. Let me go ahead and drop that in the comments as well. Analyticsco.com. And let me know, reach out and let me see if I can help you out at all. I'm really excited about this year and focusing 100% on analytics. Devil's Club, it looks like you dropped some question marks in here. Did I miss something? I did answer your question about Microsoft Clarity. I don't use it, but I will put it on my list as one of the things to try out this year in 2021. If you guys have any suggestions for things that you would like to see in regards to analytics, make sure you drop those in the comments too, or DM me. I am working on my calendar for this year. I only have through January booked up. I think in February, I'm going to focus specifically on Facebook. So be on the lookout for that as well. All right, guys, I'm going to hop off here. Thank you so much for dropping in, and I'll see you next week. Don't forget, you're a beast.